to Zen Mystery TV.
Welcome to Zen Mystery TV, yeah. This is Carlos Sandonio.
Dennis Sahanov, and I think it's episode 9.
Yeah, we're looking at episode 9. And I don't know, I realize I have like some kind of semi-racy stories today. I don't know.
Racy?
I don't know. But let's see what you
What kind of mystery is this?
The deepest mystery. The deepest kind of mystery.
Racy stories, okay. Why didn't you start with the racy stories? Boring.
Well, I'll start with something simple, but also kind of something that comes from being down here, being in South Florida. One of the things that a lot of people, and some people here don't even notice, if I didn't know more about, some of those, because of some folks that I work with that are in the music scene, it would just pass and I wouldn't really notice or realize. But there's an enormous music scene down here. And there was an article, a very good article, as a lot of times there are, and I got led to it by Longform on the internet. Just to be very clear that I don't, at the time, subscribe to Playboy magazine, but it was actually a very good article in Playboy on chasing.
Is that Mr. Worthy article?
It's talking about people, it opens the door to chasing drugs and the use of hallucinogens or any kind of, how would you put it, it leads the door into people being interested and being intrigued by using substances to transport themselves or to enter into a trance state. So we're looking at that the first thing that they're using is, of course you have the music, but along with that, you have the name of the article, which is called Chasing Molly. First of all, it leads into some interesting things because what a lot of people, both in the youth and also in culture, for example, we're getting very big into legalization of marijuana, which I include in the spectrum of of these drugs that induce like an altered state. And the interest and always there's the interest in altered states.
The gateway drug.
The gateway, yeah, right. The gateway drug, as you call it.
That's what they
Depending on the perspective,
Okay.
I don't know that I subscribe to that. But first of all, just leading into the article itself, you can check it out if you're very interested in that whole thing. I just wanted to use it as an entryway to the idea of how you approach trance states, or even further on, like what is a trance state, and talking about meditation versus using an artificial trance state. What's your position on I know there's certain mystical teachings that they definitely use, and they thought it was important to maybe at sometimes, as an instrument, use a drug or use a plant, a hallucinogenic plant or something.
Well, from a health perspective, I would say drugs, right? I'm for legalization of marijuana, right?
You are?
I am, but I do not recommend people do any kind of drugs, with few exceptions.
Right.
So with the marijuana, let's be honest, it's not healthy. It's not.
That's very interesting to say.
After years and years of research, it's not healthy. For cancer patients and stuff like that, their pain is so unbearable, it's the only thing that works. That's a whole different story. In my experience, most people, it doesn't matter how they justify it, when they do marijuana regularly, it's an escape drug. And what waits you when you come back? Well, the problems probably double up. So it's an escapist thing. So is it fun? Is it enjoyable? Yes, of course. Is it pain reducing? Yes. Is it healthy? No. Is it spiritual?
Now, what are the instances that are, you have one of Dr. Walls, I believe, who turned around and said, or Sanjay Gupta, was it Gupta, who turned around and said, after all my research, I was very against the legal.
Gupta, I think.
I think it was him, talking about that he'd been against the legalization for a very, very long time, and he actually did like a public apology that actually there is some very serious studies that it could be, it could heal a great deal of ailments,
Well, the only good thing I think about legalization, well, not the only, one of the few good things that be good when marijuana gets legalized is that hemp products will get legalized. And that's a phenomenal product. That's very healthy oils, seeds, clothing, you name it. Now it has to be done in Canada, it grows like weeds, you can make anything you can imagine from it. In fact, most paper, decades or maybe over a century ago, was made from hemp before, and then it was politics, and then the paper industry pushed them out, and then when they settled in US, they pushed hemp industry out of Russia and other countries. So it was that's the story goes.
The political players, they're the ones that lost.
So the money, that's how the money in politics go.
They're the players that lost, basically.
So they basically figure out, but it can really help with the environment, not marijuana, hemp.
It's very interesting.
So with the environment, because it can grow, no pesticides, no nothing, and the hemp seed is one of the most nutritious foods you can eat. Hemp seed oil has omega-3s. It's an amazing product, physically and spiritually, because it nurtures the spiritual energy.
Really?
As well, with my experience. Omega-3s has that effect. So
now, what if we move into the aspect of the trance state, of approaching the trance state? Because a lot of people, and this is something, it has two sides to it, at least for me.
Well,
I have two
first you have
issues.
to like, what is trance state?
And this is something
some
very...
kind of state you have fun in and you're away from your normal suffering? Is that state we're talking about? So the way I approach it, right? So, stronger drugs. I'll say there is some stronger hallucinogenic natural plants
Right.
that can really have an effect on you, and it's done in a special ceremony, far away in nature. I'm not sure how I feel when I do it in an urban environment, things like ayahuasca.
Right.
But this is not fun. People don't do ayahuasca for fun,
Right.
okay? It really purges and cleanses your system.
Yes.
But even with that, people get addicted. You can,
Now, do you
I see
think-
people doing it a lot, and I'm concerned, but I mean,
it was originally just used as an initiation, as a drug through initiation, and from my studies, it actually came from actually being used only on the ones that were most stubborn. If they could not actually enter a naturally induced trance state, which we know is not easily done, but definitely done, through all forms of meditation.
I'd like to avoid the word trance state.
How so?
I like to use the word as I think, it's like a shifting point.
That's actually the point that I wanted to get to.
Something that will kind of collapse your boundaries, and then later when you come back together, that you cleansed and you let go something.
But when
So
you
the
say,
trance state, in most cases, people come to some enjoyable state. It's more of an escapism. Can be used as an escapism.
right, of course.
So,
But my argument, for example, well, not even an argument, well, something that I would like to point out is that something that we're completely, like people that are completely against any kind of, meditation is a little strange. Even that, from that point, drugs are even far more strange. They have a very kind of idea that they've got the correct view, and it's the normal view, and it's the modern view of how things work and what's real and what's not. I would even actually venture to say that they're actually in a certain level, whether or not you know it or not. When you're watching TV, when you're entering certain states of mind, you're entering an altered state of mind either way.
well, so what I don't know if did you finish your thought?
Well, yes, they're under, most of us and most people in culture are under a certain spell.
Well, so-
if you want to put it that way.
When I see people, and I see some people, their boundaries are so thick and square, I don't think meditation can help them.
That's very interesting.
Some more of a
Why?
dynamic,
Why do you think so?
traditional meditation, quiet sitting, it'll take 30 years.
Then we move into
it'll be-
dynamic meditation.
It'll be 30, not necessarily dynamic, but more therapeutic meditation.
Right.
So it's like more therapy and meditation together, where it has the same effect as drugs. So you don't need to do drugs, but through breathing, through sound,
Archetypal work.
through movement and things like that, you can do the same effect. But for some people, even that might not work. So maybe drugs are necessary, but there is one thing that to consider with drugs. If people do it incorrectly, without any supervision,
And one of the great examples
when they
is a
fall
slow
apart, they
article.
come back together, they won't come together, and then they would need to help.
But not even that, not even that. There's two aspects. One is the doing of a drug that has absolutely no, that's bought off who knows who, they tell you what it is supposedly you're getting, and you're getting something completely different. The article in Playboy starts actually with them at a music conference and them, saying, oh, meeting some guy. They, oh, this is good, this is fire, you need to take this, is the best stuff ever. Sell for like $10 a piece or something like that. And they're like, this is the most amazing thing ever. So of course, it's one of the big clues, cheap, it's costing nothing. And they immediately say, oh, that's great, I'd like this amount. They wander off, and they go up to their hotel nearby where they've got a very mini, basic laboratory situation where they actually test what it is. And, it's nothing, it's not MDMA, it's not pure MDMA at all.
Well, so drugs in all their states go hand in hand in most cases. Some people's minds are thicker than others, so they might not be going hand in hand, maybe they'll fall asleep. So,
Right.
something to keep in mind for people who are, there's a lot of the whole community, shamanic community, they're okay with it. Keep in mind, you're still inhaling smoke. It doesn't matter, you can put your head next to a fire, inhale some smoke and see how, you're still inhaling smoke, so it's not healthy. Just keep in mind, even though it could be some benefits, healing benefits, you go somewhere in Peru, you do your thing, you heal your depression, whatever, it happens all the time. Drug, even the natural ones.
We're talking ayahuasca, we're talking about
Including ayahuasca, pot, anything natural, mushroom, whatever.
Right.
It's acidifying, it's toxic in most cases, that's why you purge and all that stuff. So it's not necessarily healthy. You might have some benefits. Like people go to Peru and have a good purge and heal some things and stuff like that. So, and then you go a whole other universe of chemical drugs.
Right.
Okay. Forget about inhaling some smoke. You inhaling some cement.
It's swallowing, whatever it is.
I've seen a video of people making cocaine. I saw what they put in there before it comes out. I was like shocked. Cement, acetone, and you some crazy stuff. So yeah, people are inhaling cement. How's that sound? It's good. So you want to escape reality? Well, do some more active meditations. I say it can have exactly the same effect with minimum to no effects.
And I completely, absolutely agree. And having actually, and I'm not coming from the standpoint of being a purist. I actually experimented, and I come from a couple different traditions as far as my training. I come from both a shamanic tradition, slightly Sufi tradition, well, definitely a Sufi tradition, and of course I have my Eastern mysticism, my Zen, and the Tai Chi and Taoist. But one of the things that was instructed me that's very interesting, because the individual who instructed me in this way was a person who had a lot of experience, We're talking some very rare modern experiences with shamanism. And this teacher of mine said unequivocally, do not, whatever you do not get involved with hallucinogens, even as much as, or anything that alters a state of mind to the point of blacking out, or really moving your point of view to the point of lack of control. And he included drinking to excess, he included marijuana, and he included, of course, the rest else, LSD, and from there on into mushrooms and etc. Now, of course, you run through trajectory, a couple years pass after the warning, and I, of course, start thinking, like most people, I think I can handle this. I think I've understood enough that it won't, cause that quite of a shock, and everything, will make kind of sense. The chemical, and I still believe to this day, the actual reaction internally, energetically, was almost irreversible. And I was actually extremely lucky through his help and through the help of some practices to actually come back. And we're talking from people that go on their trip or take their trip, so to speak, and they don't come back.
Are you sure he came back?
Maybe not.
There's some work left to do.
Maybe there's some work left to do. I'm not going to deny that. But I will say that for all of us that are approaching and are in this world of trying to explore reality, trying to find out what's really going on, trying to be the best people that we can, trying to understand things as profoundly as we can, and live from that place, one of the things that you really ultimately run into is that the first and largest step is to step out of ourselves and that internal interpretation of what's going on and into what is, you know, what presence is. And that's hopefully what you try to approach, you know.
Stay in school, don't do drugs.
Stay in school, not the drugs, Zen mystery.
So before we move on.
Either way, you're going to go on your adventures, but it's always good to say how things, what the territory is, and of course.
And most people will come across hallucinogenic substances, and they would want to try some illegal, some illegal.
There is an aspect.
So,
at a certain point, he did say that with the right teacher of a certain hallucinogen, for example, ayahuasca, with the correct ceremony, it could be incredibly powerful and transformative experience. But it comes with its downsides. One way or another, you're going to have to cross that bridge when it comes to it. You're going to have to make your choices. And it isn't such an ultimate choice. It is not the only way. Now, it's a shortcut. Do you really want to take the shortcut?
So that's how it works. And from what I observed is there's a lot of people that start reading Castaneda and the Coast was talking about, natural drugs. And what
one of the most interesting things,
and they justify taking drugs with spirituality, and it doesn't, and it's more of a philosophy and has nothing to do with reality.
More than that, this is something that a person, and I went very in depth into Castaneda, extremely in depth. That's actually some of the books that one of my teacher indicated, but he said take it with a grain of salt, and he never said why, and I found out ultimately why. If you want to see the strength of a tree or a teaching, you see the fruit. If anybody who's ever scratched the surface of the whole Carlos Castaneda, concept and idea, you look at the people that it produced. There's a very kind of a handful of group, Blue Scout and all these people that had their old interesting names, and almost all of them are dead. Every single one of them are dead these days. One was found abandoned in an abandoned car, a couple steps from their. In the desert somewhere, just dead somewhere. And it goes on, like the horror stories of just obviously dysfunctional individuals. And it's something that Don Juan even told him, you shouldn't even talk about this. The lineage is going to end with you. There's a certain incorrect observation of incorrect assessment that I can't even get into explaining.
I just say, don't read those books.
Well,
don't waste your time.
I think there's a great deal to get out of them. Now, what I will say is this, something that he never mentioned and it didn't come out until the end. The entire time the assumption is that most of their experience is coming from a strange altered state and the use of hallucinogenic drugs. When actuality, when it finally comes out, the entire time they were doing meditations, dynamic type meditations, movement type meditations that connects to almost every other tradition, from Tai Chi to Sufi movements, all the rest of this. And it was never talked about. All these people are out there chasing down plants, chasing down all kinds of that you have to run off into the night, in pure dark and see if you start to see, with your inner, pineal gland sighted, so you don't run into things. You're going to run down that mountain and you're going to bite it. Okay? What was actually the missing ingredient was a set of very specific, very, very powerful internal exercises that unless you find a teacher who knows the depth of them and can explain them to you, you're not going to be able to unlock those states.
And besides exercises, the teacher-student relationship is even more important than exercises. Exercise is an extension of that.
One thing that we talk about, the exercises are almost secondary to what occurs in the relationship. We come into, I have another topic, but tell me what's on your mind.
So the topic, today, best topics come up on the spot. So today the topics we'd like to talk to is sacred spaces. Sacred spaces. We have a lot of books here about sacred spaces, different places. And I've been studying sacred places, and one of these days
we talked about a website.
And one of these days I'll release the website when I have time, theworldchakras.com.
Right.
Okay.
You have it already? But you probably shouldn't have told them right now. Like, you totally messed up your game. Somebody's actually probably right now. Now, actually, we do have a little bit of time before it publishes. So you've got a little space.
I have
We're
2
safe.
weeks. 2 weeks.
Thank God we're not live right now.
It says coming soon. I gotta change the date on it. So
Yeah, okay.
the website will be about the world chakras
Mm.
and all the powerful places around the world where you could segue from the previous topic
Mm.
that could act as the mind altering mechanism. Because you go there and it's naturally,
Mm.
and some of them are positive, some of them are negative. We're not going to put negative ones on the website. Well, you never know. When I
Might
traveled,
be a good thing to, deal with the shadow.
so when I was traveling to Khakassia region in Russia, very close to Mongolia, where I was originally born, we went there when I was studying the places to visit, because that's already the place very close to my heart, and the steeps, areas where of that kind of landscape really,
For
really.
English speakers out there, steps. I like to say steps. I don't know why.
Steps?
I always said it's steps.
Steep steps,
Steep.
places with a very not a lot of vegetation, just
Where it looks
steep-
like things are in steps.
No. So it's basically open spaces. Looks like Mongolia or a certain part of China. It's just very wide open spaces that you just look and there's nothing for miles.
Did you ever see a documentary called The Horse Boy?
Yes, it's oh no, I didn't, but I heard about it.
Extraordinary.
And it's in
extraordinary
Mongolia.
documentary.
So I traveled and I came across some places that say don't go because it's very dark, and a lot of climbers go. It's like a hold down. Like you go and there's a big
What do you mean by
enormous
very
hall.
dark?
Dark meaning they say it pulls negativity out of you, so all of a sudden it'll come up. So I guess very good to experience the shadow. And it's interesting that a lot of extreme sports people go. They tap ropes and they drop down that ginormous hole down into the darkness and climb back
Intriguing.
out.
Very intriguing.
So I didn't go there. It's okay.
Next time.
Next time.
Next time. There's always next time.
So did visit some places called Sunduki. It's amazing, but I'll leave that for our website. What we're going to talk about is 7 chakras. Did I ever mention what the chakras of the world are? So 7 continents.
I think you mentioned it very briefly, but I think probably.
So we got continents, and basically every continent almost has a chakra. So first chakra, the root chakra, right? Of the world. You want to guess where it is? U.S. North America.
Mm.
And it's located in
Survival.
northern survival, and I guess an unbalanced first chakra is survival. A balanced first chakra would be grounded, comforted, comfortable.
Mm. Mhm.
So first chakra is Northern California, Mount Shasta.
Mm.
I was there in the span of a year 3 times. That's how much it was pulling me. And once I got my fix, that's when I was there.
Okay.
You feel there is, and obviously a disclaimer, you might not feel that. I did. It's like on a palm of God. So comforted, so safe. You
Mm.
forget about all your troubles.
Mm.
It's amazing. Some people, you can go and do some ceremonies there. Safe ceremonies.
Safe ceremonies? With condoms, I guess.
So basically, that's chakra number 1. And there's some areas nearby. It's like not too far, 2 hours away. There's Crater Lake, very powerful as well. But Mount Shasta, you go there, especially in the winter, and you can't stop staring at it. And the energy is so powerful. In the summer, you can get closer to some very powerful places. And there is some areas around the mountain where you can go and meditate and things like that.
Now, are you allowed to go anywhere you want?
You're allowed to go everywhere you want. However, Native Americans don't really like it that you go to sacred places that disrespect or climb the mountain. And climbers, of course, don't care. And they climb the mountain. And it's apparently not a very hard climb, but in the winter, the weather, the mountain creates its own weather, so it's really challenging because of the weather patterns.
Mm.
So that's Mount Shasta. Check it out.
Mhm.
So chakra number 2, sacral. The emotions, the sexuality,
Mm.
South America.
Mm. Very proper. Another very proper.
Isla del Sol in Lake Titicaca,
Mm.
on the Bolivian side of Lake Titicaca, because Lake Titicaca is
Appropriate, Lake Titicaca. Most certainly appropriate.
So Peru.
I'm not going to go into a Beavis and Butthead reference, but
So everybody goes
you know.
everybody goes to Machu Picchu and has an amazing experience, but they don't know where the energy comes from. Why is it so powerful?
Hmm.
Well, because it's within the close vicinity of second chakra of the world.
Hmm.
There's a certain way the energy is doing, there's a lot of powerful places there.
Hmm.
I haven't been there yet.
No?
I would love to go. The travel in there is a little tricky because there's no big airport nearby. There has to be a connection, so it becomes very expensive.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I would like to go.
Are there tours? Are there tours that go through? I mean, it's very, it's very popular now. It's very, what's that?
Would you like a Jeep tour, like in Sedona, like a little Jeep to go drive around?
I wanna be driven, yes. I want a driver to take me there. No,
So
but I
when you get there, I hear they have tour. You can go on a tour on the lake,
mean, right.
but you get to Isla del Sol.
Not in the Jeep, I imagine. Probably not.
Isla del Sol, you could get into the.
I heard you also went to Colombia. There's some sacred spaces there as well.
There's
Doris-
secret spaces everywhere, and if you browse internet, there's quite a few websites,
Right.
books, and things like that you could find. So since you're in the second chakra, so I guess you could deal with second chakra issues there
Mm.
and kind of heal that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Isla del Sol on the Bolivian side of Lake Titicaca.
Okay.
I think the lake was much bigger, and there's ruins nearby. Hanako, I think it's called, the Bolivian side. I'd love to go there as well. I suppose that's still the vicinity. I hear it's very powerful.
Mm.
Ruins. So
What's it called? What did you say? It's,
I think it's called Tiwanaku, Tiwanaku, something like that.
Mhm.
Don't quote me on that. Just Google Bolivian sacred spaces.
interesting. Okay.
So, but Isla del Sol, Lake Titicaca is the space. So,
The third.
so since we're in Colombia, Colombia is nearby.
Mm.
They're sacred spaces. I'll throw one in. It's not a chakra. I don't think so.
Mm.
Maybe it's a chakra of South America.
Hmm.
Our place is. I'm spacing out.
You're
I
trying
can't
to-
remember. What?
Sierra Nevada of
Sierra Nevada is nearby,
yeah.
but that place is in the desert, and it's called
Ojo del Agua,
Mm.
Ojo,
Cabo de la Vela.
Cabo de la Vela and Ojo de Agua, very powerful. I got there, and it's super windy, and up. It was very uphill. I start running, and people are like, "Is he nuts?" I start running up there like a crazy person. I got there, and it's very high. I
Mhm.
sat on the edge, hang my feet. There's waves 2 stories high, hitting ring nearby. I was having a good time.
Interesting.
People were not having a good time looking at me because they were scared.
They probably think you're gonna hop off the edge. You're running over.
If you fall,
Game over.
Game over, I think. I was careful.
So
I
you ran like a
crazy.
crazy person up until you're about maybe 10 feet away, and then you crawled. Probably more like
Maybe a foot, 2
Cool.
feet away, and then I
Then you-
slowly sat down.
edge
Uh,
to sit over the
Sit
edge.
over- It was still another foot, and the waves were not hitting your face, but you were, 5 stories high, and the waves are 2-3 stories high. It's pretty
Wonderful.
wonderful. Very powerful experience. So we move on to the third chakra,
Mhm.
their navel chakra, the hara,
I don't think that
What do
the
you call it?
Dantian corresponds. It's around that area, but it's not a chakra.
so somewhere around.
Yeah,
Different
around
culture,
that,
different
yeah.
things. So you want to guess where it is?
No.
No.
Africa?
No.
Siberia?
Mount
No,
Uluru,
we're in
Mount Uluru
Mm.
in Australia.
Oh, okay.
It's an amazing place. Desert, boom! Like ginormous round orange rock.
Right, orange rock. Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Red
amazing.
rock, they call it as well.
I don't know, I can't remember what they call it, but it's amazing. Of course, Native Americans do not like people taking tours and going there, but people do. There's a fancy hotel nearby. You can always spend a few $100 and stay there and camp. I don't know camping allowed, but it's amazing. It looks phenomenal. In Zemlya, we do have books. You can see pictures of you
I
around
have a
the
feeling
house.
we're about to cut off in a little bit.
So,
Let's continue to talk about the third chakra in a moment.
so this is the third chakra.
You want to go ahead and like pause for a moment?
We can reset and move on to the 4, 5, and 6.
So that third chakra is in Australia.
That's Australia.
Right.
Do you have to go and order all the chakras? I don't think the universe cares. Whatever calls you, go experience.
I mean, either way, usually people,
Make
you
sure
know,
you
we have certain
read the report.
imbalances or issues with different chakras. Sometimes we're just fine, you know.
There is sacred
in certain-
places at every state, every country, everywhere.
Actually,
Does
for
that have
that
to be
matter,
chakras? It could be-
talking about sacred places, there's apparently, now we're talking about, there's a lot of very interesting places in Florida. One in particular that I've come to know of is Pine Island and the ridge on between Nom Hill and around Griffin Road. There's a sacred ground there, a sacred American ground there. And actually it's connected to Treetops Park, and actually I do teach there on Sundays. I can definitely say that, you know,
There's quite a few. I've
Wonderful,
never been to
wonderful.
that one, but I know there's places, Native American sites that I've been to that are very powerful. All around a couple of Miami and the Keys. There's a place that a lot of people go is to called Coral Castle. Definitely has an interesting, warm,
very
wonderful
interesting
energy.
background there.
So some interesting stories of people, him creating this small little city out of ginormous coral rock that nobody knows how he moved it because he didn't have any instruments. So read the myth, check it out on the internet. So chakra number 4, the land of the Merlin.
The land of Merlin.
Yeah.
I just clarify.
In case
Land-
you can't pronounce, if you
Get
can't
the
Russian accent.
pronunciation.
So Glastonbury, England. A beautiful hill in a little, it's amazing. And now they find out that hill has something underneath it as well. Of course they can't dig it and do crazy uncover it because it's a protected site. But it's an amazing thing. And that's chakra number 4. So the heart chakra of the world is in England.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's our
Is
chakra?
it balanced on, is it creating balance or not? That's it's an interesting thing to ponder.
What do you mean by that?
Well, every country, it seems every country or continent has certain chakras, and are we
So the
balanced?
question is,
Are the
is
energies
it-
balanced?
Is it balanced? Is the
Yeah,
question.
is the, you
What
can,
Whether or not it's balanced or not, does that have an effect on what the person there will experience when they arrive?
not necessarily, but I'm saying is London's nearby, it's a big player in the
Is
world.
London very close to it?
Not too far,
Oh,
not too
really?
far, hours, not
Mhm.
days,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even a couple hours.
Hmm.
Interesting, Stonehenge is not a chakra, but it's not too far either. So, very interesting, most people go to Stonehenge, but if you see pictures of Glastonbury, it's fascinating, very fast. So, chakra number 5, now we go to Africa. The pyramids. Some places call the Pyramid of Khufu, Pyramid of Giza, everybody's different, I don't know if it's the same one. That'd be hilarious if it is.
Mhm.
So, pyramids, check it out, see which one
Throat
speaks to you.
chakra.
Throat chakra, expression. So, another thing, if you're going to go to all these places, check out reports, travel reports.
Probably a
Go
good
to
idea.
Egypt, maybe not a good idea. I don't know if this area is okay, but there's areas that are a little bit more unstable where it might be some trouble. So check it out. Check everything before you do. Read your guides on the internet and CIA reports and whatnot. I think CIA puts out a report or whoever does. So
Yeah.
So Homeland Security, whoever does it. So, or whatever country you're at, read some
I have
information.
some very interesting stories. I don't know, a lot of people come across a very old author. He was the one who introduced Ramana Maharshi to the West. Everybody knows about Ramana Maharshi. His name was Paul Brunton, and he had some very, very interesting to say, and very interesting experiences in a very old book called Search in Secret India, but there was also a corresponding book, Search in Secret Egypt. It's actually bizarre stories about the experience in Egypt.
So working on your 5th chakra expression, things like that, some of the basic issues, or whatever that is.
4th and 5th chakra is very interesting, corresponding very big time to the backgrounds. We're talking Merlin, Glastonbury, right? We're talking Egypt, also talking about Hermeticism and Hermetic magic coming out of.
And what I've read is I have some books in there that chakras, they're not set in stone, so they shift over the centuries. So it's a little different every time. That's why I think that's why you hear stories of different Shambhalas in this area or that.
Maybe they at one point
At some point that was, let's say,
were the
7th chakra that we worked to that, right? So let's get to chakra number 6. Any guess what chakra number 6 is? What's behind door number 6? Chakra number 6.
Where have we not gone yet? Let's see, India?
Well, interestingly enough, chakra number 6 goes back to Glastonbury, England again.
Really? Are you
So
serious?
there's chakra 4 and 6 apparently different systems. The system I resonated with holds both 4 and 6. So 6 chakra, third eye, is in England again.
Really?
So very
Where?
same place, Glastonbury.
Oh, hold on a second. There's two chakras in the same exact place?
That's what they say.
Really?
So
That's kind of fascinating.
it is fascinating.
Hmm.
And of course, different system and everything, but I like this system. It's more in depth, book written on that and stuff like that. So question?
No, I mean, I'm just very curious who it was or where the system comes from. I wonder if they're English. Yeah, we have like maybe 3 chakras here, maybe. We have two of them for sure. We probably have the crown chakra too. Or, maybe probably here as well.
So,
or to be more correctly spoken, we probably have that chakra as well.
So chakra number, we will put the reference where the system comes from
Right,
in
sure.
the notes. So go to blogs, zenmystery.com/blog to catch on that.
Sure.
Find the episode. So
And
chakra
so-
number 7
Yes,
is
the crown.
the crown. It's a Zen
There's only one way to know, right?
So chakra number 7 is Mount Kailash in Tibet. Mount Kailash, so it's not an Everest, not this and that. So Mount Kailash has been a sacred mountain for centuries for Tibetan people, Indian people, things like that. People do go on treks and pilgrimages. So you can go on a week-long or 4-day long pilgrimage all around, okay? And the weather is no picnic. So I think you have to drag a lot of stuff with you to eat and things like that.
We're talking Everest-like weather, though. I mean, we're talking
Well, it's not that hot.
glacial. It's not.
It's just cold and stone and some snow, but it's not. You're not climbing Mount Everest. You're going around it. Look at some pictures. Fascinating. We're going to try to
Mount
put some
Kailash.
pictures. Mount Kailash. It's fascinating. It's interesting that I've read stories.
Does that correspond to the possible area of Shambhala or connected to Shambhala?
So I think now people could. I think at the time where I hear a story of Shambhala come, I think it comes from an area, at least from some of the research I've done. And actually, not too long ago, I was very nearby. I ran out of time. I couldn't make it there. I was coming from a Russian side, and I was half a day away because the distance is great in Russia. So I didn't make it. I was half a day away, and I didn't have enough time because I had to go back.
Half a day away? Come on, man. You can go for half a day?
Well, it's half a day away and a multiple day trek to get there. You get close in half a day. You
But
might
then
get,
it'll take a week to get the rest of it.
because you have to get on a horse or by foot to get there.
Come on, there's no big tour that goes right to,
A horse tour. you can go on a horse.
Which, once again, I will mention it again. The Horse Boy, as a documentary, absolutely incredible, and actually
Well,
the exact same thing. Having to go on horses to get to, a sacred place.
Go on foot. Go on foot, leave horses alone.
Maybe the horses love it.
Well, if you're nice to a horse, okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You go
Make sure you take
him for, a trip, great time
Oh
together.
yeah, carrying all your crap and yourself.
They love it. They love it. I don't know. Try not to heavy pack the horses. You gotta be very good.
So,
For that matter,
so the place is nearby. It's Mount Beluga, but apparently it used to be chakra number 7 sometimes long time ago. So it used to be, it's still a very powerful place. At the time when I was close by, it was only a few months away before the world goes to shit.
What do you mean?
Goes to
What are you talking
December
about?
21st, 2012.
Oh.
And I was
When things
nearby.
when things ended.
And it started again. So I flipped Russian TV, go through channels, helps
That's
me
to
speak
see
Russian.
if there's
And
any.
there's a program on the news. They show, these people are gathering, New Age followers are gathering for the end of the world. And the locals are not happy about it.
Where?
Nearby Mount Beluga in some village.
Hmm.
They're gathering communally, and it's the news. You don't know if they're gathering to meet the end of the world, but the quotes are pretty out there.
Hmm.
So Mount Beluga, a fascinating story. If you want to be in the middle of nowhere, you can't get more nowhere than Mount Beluga. 6,666 either miles or kilometers from every ocean.
Right.
Ponder that. You can't get further away from civilization as well. Maybe you can't get further from civilization, but from oceans you can't. So very fascinating. It's on the border of China, Kazakhstan, Russia, and Mongolia. I think there is like a point all these countries come together. It's very interesting, energetic points. Very, very powerful. By
And
from
that
the books I've
corresponds,
looked
that
at,
corresponds to what?
I guess it used to be chakra number 7, and different books get in different. And we post the main book that I'm referring.
The storyteller in me kind of wants to go into how some ancient cult ruined the chakra, so it had to change somewhere else.
So I guess the earth moves and shifts, and energy points move.
By itself? You mean we don't do that?
You can make a story of bullshit and write a fake story about it.
Chances are we have very little to do with it.
So 7 chakras of the world.
Very good.
Mount Shasta, Lake Titicaca, Isla del Sol, Mount Uluru, Australia. So, Isla del Sol, Titicaca, Bolivia. So Mount Shasta, U.S., Titicaca, Bolivia, Uluru, Australia, Glastonbury, England.
You got
Egypt.
it. I believe in you. Keep going.
Egypt,
You can-
Mount Pyramids in Egypt. Different people, different ideas. Glastonbury again, number 6. Number 7, Mount Kailash.
Fascinating. We were just talking about and finishing and wrapping up that conversation on the chakras of the world. Don't get discouraged, as Dennis was saying. A lot of other sacred places to go to.
Everywhere you are, and everywhere possible, there is powerful places. Do a little research. Go to website, internet. There is powerful places. You will be surprised.
And speaking of powerful places, come to Zen Mystery. Check it out. It actually is very strong energetically. I know there's a couple of the studios that are very lucky to have found great places to situate themselves in. Visit places like that. Visit Treetops Park. Visit, take a look and do a little bit of research. Coral Castle is fascinating. Yeah.
Whatever country you're at, there
And of
is
course-
some interesting, very powerful places. I'll throw it in. What people haven't forgot, the way of nature. They used to feel where the meridians cross. Our bodies have meridians, the earth has meridians, and they didn't forget that there's certain powerful meridians would cross. People would put temples there, they would put churches.
And maybe build over and over again. I visited probably one of the most sacred places in Russia, which was where the Church of Jesus Christ the Savior is built.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very fascinating, beautiful place. You mean that big, huge church?
Yeah.
The main.
There's been a sacred place there built over and over and over again.
It's an interesting place that has a car wash underneath it, and very powerful for rich and powerful convention centers and things like that in there.
So you're saying that it has no whatsoever?
I didn't feel it.
I felt a great deal about it.
I would go into the inside Kremlin, visit churches inside there. Very, very interesting. So there's a lot of power places anywhere. It doesn't have to be fancy and pretty.
Now, it has nothing to do with fancy and pretty. It has to do with the place
It
itself.
has to be meridians.
Of course.
So they build churches,
Mhm.
and they say, "Wow, this place is beautiful and powerful." It might not have to do with any religion or anything like
Nothing
that.
at all.
It would be just an energy spot,
Right.
at least from my experience.
I concur. And I would, of course, add that the most sacred space of all is within you.
Yeah, you can always
Your
go
sacred
there.
space. Okay. As fate should have it, it looks like I am going to go ahead and give our thank you for joining us for this episode from my living room. Here we are. Slightly different day from the day that we finished the actual episode, but nonetheless, connecting to that internal space and having to do with looking at the chakras of the world, looking at altered states, and the ways we approach those altered states. This ends the episode. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again next week, and namaste from all of us here, Zen Mystery and Emerald Med Arts. Thank you.